Twitter has responded to some of the claims that Elon Musk has made against them in his bid to call off his, was it $44 billion deal to buy Twitter, saying that his arguments make absolutely no sense and he should still be obligated to buy the corporation at the originally agreed upon price. So Twitter sued him last month, saying that he's on the hook. That was the deal. He countersued and submitted explanations for why he didn't want it anymore. And if it sounds dismissive for me to say he didn't want it anymore, that's what it's about. That is actually what it is. Just because he has hundreds of billions of dollars doesn't mean he's not a kid, which he is. Let's see, they say, the counterclaims made by Musk are a made-for-litigation tale that is contradicted by the evidence and common sense. They call his complaints factually inaccurate, legally insufficient, and commercially irrelevant. So what are some of the claims that he has made? What should cause a judge to dissolve this financial agreement? He accuses the company of intentionally miscounting the number of spam accounts it hosts to juice its user metrics. He said it's a scheme to mislead investors about the company's prospects. He also describes it as misleading for Twitter to rely on the metric MDAU, or monetized daily active Twitter users, as a basis for revenue. Those are interesting claims, and they are reasons to not enter into a financial agreement to buy Twitter. They were using that as a basis for their claims of revenue before you signed an agreement to buy the corporation. You could have looked into the bot thing before you signed on the dotted line. He didn't do that. This is the work that a serious investor, a serious businessman would do when there aren't billions of dollars on the line. And thus, either he is as irresponsible as Twitter and I are making him out to be, or those are not actually his reasons for wanting to get out of the deal. I personally think that that is a better explanation for it. But they've rebutted more of his claims, and we can get into that. But this legal battle continues, and they're, I think, making a pretty strong defense against his bid to get out of it.
I think so as well. I just think that this never is something that ends well, in part because it's like trying to force someone to marry you. If the man doesn't want the company, it's gonna be problematic. If for some reason, which is very rare if it happens, the court were to order specific performance in terms of you have to buy this company, which is unlikely to happen. If anything, the court would award some form of damages that Musk and his entities would have to pay to Twitter. But this really shows you what happens when billionaires try to get into a game and they're used to not having to ever be accountable to anything, and to be able to manipulate stocks and make comments and not necessarily face critical consequences. And Twitter isn't here to play with Elon Musk. And especially since Twitter had requested that this case be expedited, that took away a lot of the wind in Musk's sails in terms of being able to, keep the upper hand during the case.
I think this is wildly entertaining. I think it's so hilarious. The only thing that would be better in this story is if Twitter had secretly revealed that they'd secretly been using AI to learn how to be the best S poster. Like they've been using all the great trolls to expertly troll him on Twitter. I love claims like this. I love these little statements that we're reading from, because it is lawyers just writing and obviously every bit of evidence since the dawn of time shows, and they use this very fluffy language to do something that I think we all know in our guts, which is that Twitter was something that Elon Musk wanted to buy, thought he could buy, but when it became obvious that that was a mistake, he wanted to pull out. And I agree. Everything I've read, I'm not a legal expert or anything, but everything I've read, it just seems like Twitter is wait, it was a fake out? But that was a sort of illegal kind of fake out, and we are entitled to some kind of damages. And when it's
it's $1 billion.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good, and I hope they get every single penny, because Elon Musk is just another one of these fake asses online who pretends that they're so awesome, and they are just self-help gurus and motivational speakers and outlets for people who are roid raging, like Alex Jones and Jordan Peterson. And they have these people who will tell you you're mindless if you believe anything except what the person that runs my life, Elon Musk, tells me to mindlessly accept. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I wish the story is a little bit different, set up in a better way for the consequences to really feel good, because like in theory, Twitter is, they're trolling him, as you say, and that's nice. He's a bad guy who does a lot of bad stuff, so it's good to see him trolled, but they're trolling him like along a course where the goal is to get him to buy it, which at the end of the day, I don't want him to do. Even if it's at a wildly overinflated price, I don't want him to own Twitter. I think it was a terrible idea before. I still think it's a terrible idea. So he might end up having to pay $1 billion, which, look, that's a lot of money. You know, it's funny that, and we'll have an update on this at the start of the second hour, he's gonna have to pay maybe 20 times what Alex Jones does. And Elon Musk didn't even get to dispatch murderous psychopaths to hound the families of mass shooting victims along the way. He didn't really get much for his money. But then by the same token, it's $1 billion, but what does any of that mean? Elon Musk has hundreds of billions of dollars. Like in a suitcase? What does it even mean? It's just numbers on a spreadsheet somewhere. So he'll pay more money than everyone watching this show combined will make in their entire lives, and it will have literally no effect on him or his businesses, which again seems weird. Even going through all of this, as ridiculous and seemingly it should be pretty humiliating as it is, it doesn't seem to have broken through to his admirers, his worshipers out there on social media. They still come out of this thinking that he's a good businessman, that he's Einstein walking amongst us. And so some of the developments are fun, I agree with you, but I don't know, the system just isn't really set up for this to pay off the way it should.
But with Alex Jones, as you'll learn about in the second hour, they have that story. Is this part of their financial calculation when they make these big moves? Now, most business people, they look at every possible tool at their disposal to make more money, right? And recently, the same way that politicians have seen social media as a way to bypass the media, business actors see social media as a way to game the market, to make people move. And it sometimes has good fallout, such as in the GameStop moves, but it also has these insane manipulation of market connotations when it comes to Elon Musk. Now, is there going to be another chapter in this book where people like Alex Jones, according to the decisions that were made today and yesterday, and Elon Musk, we need the justice system to make it not make financial sense for them to play these kinds of games. And until we do that, they're gonna say, well, I make $2 billion by doing all this illegal market manipulation, and I only have to pay $1 billion in damages. I'm still in the black, Jack.
Something also that it's maybe worthwhile to consider in terms of Elon Musk taking this to court or forcing Twitter to go to court is kind of the tax rules and the limitations that are in place there. Because generally, if you have to pay out because you have a court-issued judgment, it's something that is tax deductible. And also your legal fees, things that are tax deductible. And also in the court situation, you are going to be forced to have some kind of mediation or settlement process. And Twitter may not want to take that risk, so they may be willing to settle for even less. But either way, it's a way that Musk can reduce his taxes, and his business can as well, by deducting that. And so for him to, again, push into this legal process, it's one of those realizations that we might want to bear in mind that this could be completely and entirely strategic, and the outcome, it might just be a shoulder shrug for Elon Musk, whether it is $1 billion out of his pocket or a lot less, or if it's just a way to reduce his taxes.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.